Welcome, everybody, to our monthly second Saturday's poetry reading. My name is Dan Kerr. I have the privilege of being your moderator for this reading, which is hosted by local poet Kathy Donnelly. We have our featured poet, and we also have an opportunity for any of you who are on the participating who'd like to read one of your own poems. Please remember to put your name in chat. Please keep your microphone muted during the poetry, unless it's your turn to read. That avoids shows respect for your fellow poets, and that way people aren't subjected to the barking dogs and the ringing phones and the other distractions. Feedback is a gift, so if there's anything that you see today or experience that you like or you don't like or you think we could be doing a better job, Kathy and I have been doing these virtual sessions now for about 4 years, but there's always an opportunity to improvement. I have a very simple email, danielbkerr@verizon.net. Send me any suggestions you have. Kathy and I periodically review the feedback, and although we've been doing it for 4 years, we know we can constantly enhance it and make it even better. So our planned agenda, we go from roughly 11 to 12. The wild card is I don't know how many people want to read, so it's possible we may flex a little bit beyond 12. Our experience is we've never flexed beyond 12:30, but so it'll be sometime between 11 and 12:30, most likely from 11 to 12. I'll get you started, and then I'll turn you over to Kathy, and Kathy will introduce our featured poet, who is Geri Kaplan. We're very pleased to have Geri with us. Then we'll do the open read, and then we'll bring Geri back for an encore, and then Kathy will announce the next poet for, hard to believe, it's going to be for April, so spring is in the air. There are those of you who were listening in the little dialogue we had. There's all sorts of things we do at All Souls Church in terms of serving the community that we're a part of. What I do here is I just focus on three things. I recognize you're here for poetry, not for evangelization, but these are three things that we do that the poets do participate in. So we do monthly concerts called Saturdays at 6. We happen to have one tonight if you're in town. That's at 6 o'clock in the historic chapel on 61 Main Street. And it's a duo who both performed at the church before. It's a Dreams of Spain duo, so they'll do both classic and contemporary music from Spain and from the Spanish tradition. We also do the poetry once a month. There's a picture when we used to do it in the church. We've been doing it virtually now for 4 years. But please note, and I know a number of you are probably here to hear Geri, but we do this every month, always the second Saturdays of the month, always at 11 o'clock. We also do Native American drumming once a month as well. Instead of the Native American tradition, it's a spiritual healing experience that's thousands of years old. If you want any more information on that, just send me an email or just visit our website. And again, there's a concert tonight. It'd be nice to see Bruce and a couple others of you there. Once a year, we combine all the different monthly outreach programs into one. We do something called Conversations on the Sacred. This was conceived originally by Carmen Bugan, and when Carmen moved away, she passed the baton to Carolyn Emerson. So I collaborate with Karen. We identify some sacred poems from various spiritual and traditions, and then we have the poem, and the poems are all read by, you'll recognize some of our local poets here. They're read by a local poet, and then there's a musical interlude afterwards, either by students from the university, from Dan Kinney, the All Souls organist, or our Native American drummer. And that the date of that is September 6th. So that's the actual date for this year. That'll be on September 6th. That'll be our monthly concert. It's the one time a year we combine all the outreach programs. Last thing I'll mention, and you'll recognize Rabbi Fisher, you'll recognize Bruce, you'll recognize Kathy, and our former poet laureate and his wife there. We do a race, a 5K race, 2K walk each year. And that celebrates the role of the church in the community, the different ways we serve the community. Also raises funds to make the church accessible. When Stanford White designed the church in 1896, life expectancy in the US was less than 50 years. Looking at the audience who I know here, some of us wouldn't have made the cut. So accessibility was not high on his radar screen. So those of you who've been to the historic chapel know it's a bit of a hike to get up that hill. And also the church doesn't have a bathroom. So we've been doing that 17 years, and each year that we do it, there is a group of poets that so far they've just walked. We haven't had any runners yet, but the new poet laureate I think is going to run this year. But there's a group called the Live Poets Society, and they proudly march in the race each year. I hope you'll be able to join them this year. This year's date is Sunday, October 5th. So with that, I'll turn you over to Kathy. And again, privileged to host you, and I'll turn you over to Kathy now. Kathy?
Thank you. All right. I'd like to start with just welcoming all of you people who got up on a Saturday morning and are here. We have 22 people for Geri, who's never done this before. Never, as she said to me this morning, never read before a group. So welcome everyone. Thank you for coming. And I hope we're going to have to go over, I think, for the open read. Anyway, I always start with a poem. And belonging to a group, a class called from OLLI, OLLI, that's OSHA Lifelong Learning Institute. They have programs for senior citizens, no credit, but also no tests, no quizzes, and it's 300 a year. So I highly recommend it. And there's one poetry class I'm involved with. And the students, if that's what you want to call us, will take turns presenting. So what was presented last Wednesday afternoon was a poem called Can You Imagine by Mary Oliver. I'll read that and then introduce Geri to you all. Can you imagine, for example, what the trees do, not only in lightning storms or the watery dark of a summer's night, or under the white nets of winter, but now and now and now, whenever we're not looking? Surely you can imagine they don't dance from the roots up, wishing to travel a little, not cramped so much as wanting a better view, or more sun, or just as avidly more shade. Surely you can't imagine they just stand there, loving every minute of it. The birds or the emptiness, the dark rings of the years slowly and without a sound thickening, and nothing different unless the wind, and then only in its own mood, comes to visit. Surely you can't imagine patience and happiness like that. So that's from our dear Mary Oliver. Sorry to lose her. Next, Geri and I discussed this morning that I would read the part of her bio that's kind of the informational. But then what Geri sent, like no one else has sent ever, I think, is a piece in first person. And I'm going to have her read that because it's quite beautiful. Geri Kaplan is a retired clinical social worker living in Smithtown. She has been a lover of the arts and was the technical director of C.W. Poe's film department for a number of years. At Stony Brook University, she leads a poetry workshop for the OLLI program and is chairman of the Arts Council. She has always been interested in the arts, with poetry being her passion. She was recently published in PPA, Volume 23. All right, Geri, your turn.
Geri, you got to put your mic on.
You know, I haven't read a bunch of my poems to a large group at all. This will be my first go. When I was a teenager, I fell in love with poetry. I didn't care that I didn't understand it. I loved the way the words sounded. I loved the mystery, a mystery that I had to discover, of course. I wanted to write poetry. But life took its crazy turns. I had to make a living. I was a social studies teacher for part of my life. I got married, had a couple of kids, all the time thinking you could certainly have time to write. But for me, my heart couldn't find a voice. I found my way into the arts via filmmaking, all the time searching for my voice. And then I was the technical director. And when I joined the OLLI program, I took poetry and literature classes. I started writing. It took me a while, but I think I found my voice, and I hope to share my voice with you today. So, one of the goals of my poetry, so I thought, was to sort of write a memoir. And a lot of my poems feature a lot of people in my family and in my life. So I'm going to start there. This first poem is called Diner Drawl. Draw one, down two. 1 cup of joe, 2 slices of toast. The sounds steadied my life at age 9. The black and white walls, Eddie on the grill, scramble 2, 3 over easy, hold the hash, save the OJ. My father carrying the orders, 3 on one arm, 1 on his free hand, aroma of bacon trailing to waiting customers. Me at the sink, washing the glasses on stand-up brushes, the L shaking the roof, vibrating the neon sign shining, Leonard's Diner. Uncle Phil leaning on a chair, not trusting his braces to hold, takes cash, fedoras, long coats, hurried hands holding the Herald Tribune, Daily News, the Post, standing like celery stalks in front of their faces. A quick smile of thanks as my father refreshes a cup of their coffee. Thank you. Another one about my dad called Seventh Son. He was the 7th son of a 7th son. His mother called him Il Fiorina, the flower. When his friend Babyface would say he was going to Toity Street, my father would enunciate dramatically 33rd, the proper pronunciation. He was always clean, well-shaven, never without his suit and tie, which he wore to the diner every day, then went into the back room to change into his diner whites, absent of grease, gravy, coffee. They arrived daily from the Chinese laundry. His hair was dark auburn, thick, wavy, combed straight back, standing with the highlights of this crown looking over the long black and white counters where the customers, high on their stools, coffee cup in hand, hunched over the morning paper, still tired from yesterday's labor at the docks, the printing presses, the builders of homes, bridges, roads. He watched over them, pouring more coffee, serving ham and eggs, a hand on a shoulder. Good to see you, Joe. How's your mother, John? Thank you. Completeness. The moon passes its fullness. A waning crescent, my father lies on the couch, his thinning gray hair, dark, handsome waves gone, the sharp, highlighted brown eyes now clouded with time. He looks at me. No, I'm not afraid of dying. It's just another phase. So simple, the moon, at once full light, moves to dark. Is this about my mom? Holy. Go into my mother's kitchen, you will see the perk pot on the stove. Hear the lub-dub as the boiling water travels up the stem to drop water on the basket filled with raw coffee. She stares out the window, waiting in her floral apron, the one that goes over your head, ties on the sides. Sighs with a cup in hand, the coffee is good. Pitched in satisfaction, she begins the Sunday ritual. She takes the ground meat from the fridge, the ingredients orchestrated in her hands, cheese, breadcrumbs, oregano, parsley, adding eggs, onion, moistening the meat in her hands, forming it into uniform balls. She drops them in the pot, the tomatoes already simmering down to a sauce. The meatballs yield in a final embrace of this holy consummation. This is about my brother. Piece of cake. Piece of cake, he would say. It didn't matter if he was talking about moving pyramids from the desert to Manhattan or taking a drive to the beach. Piece of cake, the mantra filled his smile, fresh from yesterday's happy days, melted on the aged face of his mother, turning his smile into a lukewarm chasm between then and now. Piece of cake, his hand under her arm as he clenched his teeth. Come on, Ma. One more step. Piece of cake. Her 90-year-old eyes, unfocused clouds, circling eternity. Come on, Ma. One more step. You'll see. Piece of cake. Let's see. The grave. I often dream of my mother. She slips in and out of my day from her grave. I refuse to let her go. I refuse to see the dirt that covers her, yet it becomes the soil that fertilizes my dreams. Seeing her in the shadows, waiting for me to reform, reshape myself in the remaining hours of my life. She watches me tumble into a lake of questions, struggling to create visions of answers. And then I feel her, taking my hand, beckoning me to swallow life whole. Okay. Now on to a younger set, The Barista. The orchestra begins in an alcove off my son's kitchen. The instrument he plays is the Rocket Cellini, a primo espresso coffee machine. His wife, the conductor, calls out, "David, can you make me a coffee?" The Cellini has been warming since 6 a.m. He fills the barazza grinder with beans, grinds them, weighs them. Then he pours the ground coffee into a portafilter, watching as the boiling water pushes into the cup, yielding a caramel-colored liquid with a white froth on top. He presents it to his wife, the merriment of his soul, in his signature leaf design. The Equestrian. My daughter steps out of her house, leaving the world behind, the dirty socks, lost homework, the dog's pleas for attention, the last drop of coffee, for a horse that waits for her to climb onto his back, take him away from the monotony of the stall, standing still. She strokes his neck, her voice an ocean hum of reassurance. In a moment, she's astride his back, she at the reins, he at the bit, on a path through the trees. She signals him to trot, preparing him to leap past the fallen logs, westward around the lake, across the pasture. The breeze they stir up is the magic movement of their souls. In the turnaround, she pats him on the shoulder to slow, signaling the return home, an end too quick. He to the stall, she to slide home, shepherd her sons to homework with dinner at hand, her voice the warm current that moves the lives of those around her. Now to something, more introspective, how we poets are. Winter. Winter comes before the cold, before temperatures drop. Winter comes on the balmy winds of October, its invisible hands removing leaves from trees, tricked into dancing in naked delight. Winter comes slowly, dropping inside you like a lost friend sharing a cup of coffee, parking you in the living room in front of the fire, while the sun grows ever more distant, holding you in darkness, searching for warm light in this now narrow space. White light. I'm moving right along. I don't know if I'm going to do the 20 minutes, guys. White light. Who were you when I was someone else in my life? Where the shutters rattled in excitement and the wind blew discovery? Who were you when I was someone else? A long studded sentence of resolve, an opinion of optimism lavished by the sun. Where did I go to find this winter of white light that bears no direction? Who was I then when I was someone else in my life, pleased by the day, anticipating tomorrow? Word caravan. Let's see. The word caravan comes to meet me at all hours of night and day, shifting the focus of conversations, the wordplay of the day, the course of impeachment, the letter of the law, at the turn of which century, in which decade, the caravan moves, for some struggling for truth, for others to save the unborn in the balance of the living, always searching for the seat of God as this caravan moves through the desert, never escaping the mirage before them. Now, these are three kind of different mood. Fickled mind. My mind is always in a tickle, that it would seem so fickle. I tend to ruminate too long of life events so far gone. If only nature I could be, I would so steadfast as a bee, contained so combed with thinking, there would be no sinking. Yet I find myself wondering as I point myself in too many directions to settle in on contemplations as replete with cogitation that I am vexed with castigation. But nature is so refined that I am inclined to walk past roads man-made, to find a trail through fragrant pines, and it is there I might find a peaceful recline. Shaken, not stirred. I lie in my bed thinking about being dead, parlaying in my head whether to be reduced by flame to be my immortal end, or take my carcass to the grave, allowing centuries to bend and blend for its eternal send, rather like a martini, shaken, not stirred. And if it's the same, would that make any difference? Let's see, I think I will, here we go. Cat lessons. Love has moved on. I watch the cat ballet jealously as she steps to the window. I feel myself in a darkened coffee house trying to loosen my imagination in search for words whose rhythm feels like jazz. Emmy slides into my lap, sensing my need for consolation, purrs, invites me to take my place beside her by the window. I hold my pen, ruminating in the sun, wondering if the words have moved on. Waking. I wake in the morning hungover from dreams. I wait for the day to take me by the hand. I should take the train to the Whitney, view Edward Hopper paintings, set up a trip to the Grand Canyon, take in a ballet, or at least see Aida once more. Instead, I go to the beach, join the sanderlings, racing back and forth to the water's edge. They at least are foraging. I am unsure. I hover on the shore, knowing the ocean, this vast container of time, invites me in. I take charge in my chair, book in hand, and let the words embrace me. Open field. The kitchen remains my viewing stand, with cup in hand. The smell of coffee weaves memories across the kitchen table. My husband reads the Times, drinks his coffee, ponders a chess game with Bobby Fischer. A head bobs past the kitchen window, my son's escape from his bedroom with his girlfriend. The trail of hockey sticks, riding helmets, books, shoes that my daughter leaves by the kitchen door. The window, the cup, the kitchen table remain. My garden's new blooms have no regard for yesterday's losses, just new beauty from one day to the next. They never ponder the royal red or the mellow peach of the blossoms they lost the day before. My neighbor walks every day. We chat We chat after 20 years of waves and salutations. It is then, as all blossoms take themselves for granted, I feel myself slide into the open field of someone's newness. Okay. I have 2 more poems left. I feel like I've moved too quickly, but
Perfect pace.
it is
Really
perfect
good.
pace. I'm okay.
You're fine. Another 2 is fine. You've actually done 15, 16 so far.
So I'm all
another
right.
2 is fine. Yep, that's fine.
Okay, great. I've read Seven Fishes before here. I think I'll just end with My Father's Cabaret. Eddie, I need 2 chicken parm, 1 franchise, 1 steak, no pasta. The rumble in the dining room, the regulars shouting out, Herb, sing If I Ever Should Leave You. Phil, sing Nessun Dorma. I made my way, snaking past tables, singing with my father, my favorite things. I hustled to get the drink order on table 10. Bimbo slides behind me to calm a customer already a little too tight. It was time to watch my back. The Libiamo began. Fred at the piano, the singers, Herb, Norma, Diana, Phil, their voices curling under our skin, tickling us with romantic excitement. Customers singing without a care, the night a confection of time. My father, the impresario, with a drink in his hand, circling the tables, singing, touching people in his affable way, carrying them past their silence through the darkness.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
That was great.
Thank you.
Just such a breadth of things with the poems about your family, the language of the diner, in the first one, the 77th son talking about your father and his kitchen whites. I remember when I worked in the kitchen; those brought back memories. The holy, your mother, and the sound of the love album, and the rituals that she had on Sunday, her way of sanctifying the day, the piece of cake I can hear about this, and that was just so poignant where he was having your mom take one more step at 90. That was great, and how clouds circled eternity for her. The grave, how your mother's, how the soil fertilized your dream. Very very moving image, and the barista. Who knows? You could do such magic out of a coffee machine.
Right.
And the equestrian, that interplay between how much your daughter looked forward to it and how much the horse looked forward to it too. We very rarely think about both of them at the same time.
Right.
Her escaping from, getting her normal life, and the horse looking forward to getting out of the stall. And the balmy winds of October. That's the first time I ever thought of winter actually beginning in October. The white light, there's a very famous band from Canada, if you hold it, called Blue Rodeo, and they did a song about when I became myself again, and that reminded me of that. And the word caravan, how the words always searching for God. It's very moving in your fickle mind and in too many directions, not having time to reflect. I mean, we can all identify about that. And to shake and not stir, thinking about death in a humorous way, but we all obviously think about our own mortality. And the cat ballet was just very. Anybody who's whether you like cats or not, I could just see that cat dancing in the window and waking. How first time I ever thought of, I've been hungover before. I'm not sure I've ever been hungover from my dreams. whole new spin on being hungover. And the kitchen, that open field, the kitchen as a viewing stand. What a powerful image to see that kitchen actually being transformed into a viewing stand. And then the beautiful poem that ended with your father. The other day I was watching TV and Cabaret was on, and that's those of you familiar with that play or that movie, that very special place, Casablanca, very special cabaret, and sort of the very special place that your father obviously had created with that Zone Cabaret. So
yes.
Thank you for sharing your 17 poems in about 18 minutes, and just all beautiful and moving, and just really great job. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your comments, everyone. I've been seeing them scroll underneath. I really appreciate the feedback. Thank you so much.
Great, and we'll look forward to your encore as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so as Kathy already pointed out, we got a lot of people to read, so please be mindful out of respect for the other poets here. I've got the names in chat, and we've got quite a few names here, so I'll call the names and they were ordered. My biggest fear is when I go to find a list of names that I misplaced my piece of paper. But we'll give you all the chance to read. So please, only one poem. Some of you try to sneak into two. Please, since it's such a large group today, please only one poem. Please keep your microphone muted. Wait to be called upon to read, and Kathy will close the program. And those of you who are regulars know that we call people in groups of 3, so you're not going to be surprised. And if your name is not in chat, don't worry. Kathy and I will go around in the end, and we'll make sure that anyone who wants to read gets a chance to read. Okay. So our first group of 3 is Nicola, followed by Marvin, followed by Sherry. So Nicola, we're going to start with someone from the mother country here.
Okay, right, thank you. I'll be quick. They rewilded the churchyard in Whitney a few years ago, and it gave me the idea for this poem. It's called Rest Quiet. Tumbled graves in a neglected churchyard rank with weeds, sowthistle and shepherd's purse vying with white cow parsley and broadleaf dock. Ivy cloaks the fallen cedar, while jackdaws, like shabby vergers in workday cassocks, go about their business, and magpies hold chattering parliament on the chancel roof. Tall grasses rattle seed heads in the sighing breeze between forgotten graves, and a grass snake, innocent relative of that sweet-tongued serpent, absorbs the sun by a dry stone wall. Inside the church, the echo of past hymns, a lingering smell of incense on fair linen, a sense of peace, of prayerful silence. The years lie heavy on these stones. Memories of generations past, wheelwright and labourer, merchant and landed squire, who came to celebrate a birth or mourn a death, seeking comfort and guidance, the answers to questions, united, if only briefly, in this place, in communion with those who went before. And now, we strive to find ourselves, bring meaning to our lives, pursuing baubles and the world's scant praise, the shallow joy of each new thing, ephemeral and needless when we already have enough. So pause, step back, embrace the peace of this sacred place, enter into the stillness to find yourself in silence. Rest quiet. There you are.
Thank you, Nicola. Very well done. Okay, Marvin, over to you.
The poem is called Togetherness. His son calls me a freaking wreck, a disgraceful eyesore, a thing. He tells the old man, I'll buy you a new one for God's sake. It's true that I'm not what I once was. I'm frayed at the armrests. Whitish gray stuff from ragged edges has erupted. Rorschach patterns appear at the top of me where he inclines his head. My seat has a long, jagged scar, sinuous like the Mississippi, with a stuffing a half-inch thick, protruding against the brown leather. There is tape not quite matching my skin, covering of the wounds. I might be a mess, but I'm me. Having enfolded him for 30 years, he has taken in the world, sitting or reclining, while watching the TV. Not quite as old as I, but it's no youngster either. He is loyal to us. I don't like change. These newfangled things are not for me. I like the comfort of continuance, he replies to his son. I only want the best for you, Dad. I'm satisfied, son, with what I have. He rose from me and stood transfixed when planes crashed into towers, when assassins struck, tsunamis, Oklahoma City, Katrina, and then he plopped into me as if he had been through the unseen agony. But at times he leaned his head against my fraying me and closed his eyes and tasted victory with his Yanks or Super Bowls with his Giants and applauded humanitarian efforts and saw that good still lives somewhere in the world. I could hear his breathy thank God, which even comforted me, who comforted him in my embrace. Perhaps we'll fall apart together. At the end, we might not have to go our separate ways. Has it ever been done? Two in one? There's always a first time.
Well done, Marvin. Well done. Okay. Sherry, over to you.
Good morning. Thank you, Dan and Kathy, for hosting this. It's such a joy to come here. And Geri, I so enjoyed your moving poetry. I'm going to read a poem from this publication. It's out of Virginia called A Glint of Light. It just came out this year. The poem is called Scarcity. Scarcity of quiet, of possessions, of time, of food, of safety, of hope, of love. The sun rises in a meadow, revealing diamond dew gems beaming from wildflower petals under a frost mist swirl for us to see. Inhale and hold sacred. My fingers entwine with yours, our toes extend upward upon soft green moss as pellucid dragonfly wings sweep. And breezy weeping willows whoosh. Within that untouchable space between nature and time, suspending our existence of being, gratitude seeding scarcities, unraveling. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, well done. All right, the next group of three is Megan, followed by JR, followed by Therese. So Megan, over to you.
Thank you. Great to be here. Wonderful poetry. This is called Audible Tapestry. I sit in a music hall on Cape Breton Island. Fiddle's fingers shimmy open my shell. Dancers' feet tap, follow the fiddle's lead. Violin softens, feet crescendo. Strings follow the beat of them shoes. The dancer and musician weave an audible tapestry, letting each other shine. Some days I glide my bow and fear dances to my tune. Some days fear dictates the notes I play. Sometimes the world and I unfurl an allegro tempo for each other, skip up major scales, ringing with purpose and joy. Sometimes I orchestrate the tenor of moments, and sometimes circumstance improvises my tone. Some days I want to perform the reel of yesterday. I listen to this interplay of musical movement, this endless dance of control and surrender. We echo off each other, each a sound in the world's dance and our own. Beat to the drums of those who came before us, mesh measures of their music into ours, harmonize with the melodies we meet. Feet clicking, voices rising, strings vibrating into an endless chorus. And when we can no longer move our bodies or play our chosen instrument, the next performers are listening, ready to continue our jig. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, JR, over to you.
Good morning. Thank you, Geri. Wonderful selection of poems. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Kathy. Time to travel. Douglas. A shame. He was old and feeble, could barely keep himself upright. Windy days were dangerous. He'd sway back and forth. Neighbors were afraid he'd fall. He creaked and cracked, complained all day and night. Someone needed to do something. The older neighbors remembered when he was just a young whippersnapper, a little green around the edges, but they knew he'd grow up just fine. He did, but that was ages ago. Something had to be done. A January storm toppled him. That's when they called me. A shame, but I had to do it. Another tale from the wood chipper. Thank you.
Thank you, JR. Therese, over to you.
Hi, I just 1 second. I couldn't pull it up. I have to get my book. It will take 1 second.
Okay,
Sorry.
we'll wait. Time is relative.
I'm really sorry. I had it pulled up and then I lost it.
Okay. So, Therese, you want me to come back to you, or do you want me to
No,
wait?
I'm here. I'm here now. I have it now. Very, very sorry for that.
Okay, no problem.
I'm right here. So what I'm going to read, it's Lent, and I honor everyone's pathway. It's not proselytizing. It's just I had written my book called The Pearl of the Cosmos, the Rosary, and I'll read the first sorrowful mystery. The agony in the garden. I cannot turn away from love. As all the stored up evil in the world swirled within my head, I tried to center myself, but bled instead. While love was more or less sustaining me, I did not flee. I pressed my Father to deliver me from the dead. I must be enveloped in empathy as I see my friends with terror striking at their hearts. Now, awake from their grief, they stand apart from me and seek to hide their identity, as they often do. Yes, it is true. Still, they must never turn, as daily they must seek to renew that love that binds us to one another forever. I cannot turn. I cannot turn from their faces. I look for traces of kindness and that love we share, as I am hard-pressed, close to despair. Soon it will be my death that spares them all. With each cosmic task we are assigned in time, whether large or small, and on which transformation for all depends, we shudder. Will we forsake the work of love that we come upon with one another? Will you stay awake? Thank you.
That was beautiful. I mentioned we do the rosary, and that would be, if you wouldn't mind sending me that, that would be a wonderful. Each rosary we do the teachable moment, and that would be a good one next time we get to it.
I'll send you the book because it's all the mysteries.
Okay, thank you. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next group of three is Emily Sue, followed by Dan Kerr, followed by Bruce Johnson. So Emily Sue, over to you.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Kathy, and great reading, Jerry. I'm going to read one called Spring Thaw at Lake Tahoe. It was inspired by a news article. Silence startles. No more snoring. No night patrols in dread of finding squatters or worse. The rising sap whispers dreams away, and a bear and 4 cubs, slim with winter hunger, leave their den beneath the house. They lope into the woods, following a trail of memory the fires couldn't erase. No notion that sparse berries will disappoint. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily Sue. Okay, the next one is by Dan Kerr, and I used to travel quite a lot in my previous career, and I was fortunate to go to Argentina a couple of times. And just like, there's famous graveyards throughout the world, the one in Paris, Père Lachaise, the one in Cuba, Christopher Columbus, and there's a graveyard in Buenos Aires called Recoleta, what they call the City of the Dead. And when I went there, I found myself standing in front of Evita's tomb, Evita Peron. So this is a poem called Evita at 100. Born an illegitimate child in a poor village in Argentina, you just turned 100 on May 7th, 2019. When your father was killed in a car accident, your family was thrown out of the funeral by his legitimate wife. When you were 15, you bleached your hair blonde and moved to Buenos Aires to sing and dance your way to glory. 50 years before Faye Dunaway, Patti LuPone, and Madonna stole your star, you performed the roles of Elizabeth I, Sarah Bernhardt, and Tsarina of Russia on stage. At 24, you entered politics and hitched your star to Colonel Juan Perón. 2 years later, you were First Lady of Argentina. The poor orphan girl from Los Toldos was transformed into Evita. After Juan was elected president, you took your rainbow tour to Europe. Francisco Franco awarded you the Order of Isabella the Catholic, the highest honor in Spain. Pope Pius gave you a rosary when you toured the Vatican, and Charles de Gaulle dined with you at Versailles. Not all were so kind to the poor orphan girl from Los Toldos. King George VI refused to see you, and Swiss protesters spattered your Christian Dior dress with tomatoes. When Argentine Pope Francis embraces the sick and celebrates the poor, many think he is channeling his inner Evita. When you hugged lepers and touched the wounds of the suffering, you ceased to be the president's wife and became a saint instead. Argentine poet Jose Maria Castaneda de Dios said, you changed the perception of the poor from a literary one to a Christian one. Many compared you to Ignatius Loyola, akin to a one-woman Jesuit order. Perhaps this is why the Argentine Congress declared you the spiritual leader of the nation. Jesus focused on the poor and taking care of widows and orphans. He made a whip of cords and drove the moneylenders from the temple courts. Your voice grew angry when you said, I wish my insults were slaps or lashes. I wanted to hit the people in the face to make them see as I see each day, and I will help these people. The first biography of Evita Perón was entitled The Woman of the Whip. Jesus had the Sadducees and the Pharisees. You had the ladies from the Sociedad de Beneficia. And the military officers did not believe a woman should ever lead. When they refused to continue the tradition of electing the First Lady to the president of Sociedad, the Evita Perón Foundation was born, and women gained the right to vote in Argentina. Like Jesus, you died an agonizing death at 33. Pilate sent soldiers to guard Christ's body after the crucifixion to make sure it was not stolen as a symbol of power beyond Rome's control. When you died, 8 people were crushed to death and 2,000 mourners treated for injuries in the throng that rushed to be near your body. After 3 days, Christ rose from the dead and later ascended into heaven when his work was done. Your body was embalmed and put on display in the trade union headquarters. There was to be a huge monument to celebrate your legacy and allow the poor to be with you forever. 3 years later, a military coup wanted to purge the country of Evita and Juan Perón. Your body was hidden behind a movie screen and later at a waterworks of Buenos Aires. With the covert assistance of the Vatican, your body was buried under an assumed name in Milan, where it lay for 14 years until it returned to Juan in Spain in 1971. Juan returned to Argentina in 1973 and was elected president for the 3rd time. When he died suddenly 1 year later, his wife Isabella brought your body back to Argentina and put it on display next to Juan's. Another great monument was planned, but a coup overthrew Isabella, and you were laid to rest at Recoleta, Buenos Aires, city of the dead. They say your grave is like a nuclear bunker. 5 meters of concrete remind us all to keep our distance. Many still fear your body will again disappear, and the woman or the myth of the woman will rise once more. No other woman has ever aroused the emotion, the devotion, and the faith of Evita. Many Argentines to this day have 2 pictures hanging in their homes, the Virgin of Guadalupe and Evita. As I stand before your tomb at Recoleta, I hear a voice singing, "Don't cry for me, Argentina. The truth is, I never left you." Thank you. Okay. Is there a sec? Oh, I'm sorry. We're up to Bruce. Up to you, Bruce. Bruce Johnson,
Thank you,
remember to
Jerry,
turn your
for
mic on.
sharing your poems.
There you go.
Can you hear me?
A little louder would be good.
Okay, how about now?
Yes, fine.
Okay. Thanks, Dan, and thank you, Geri, for sharing your poems, and thank you, Kathy, as always, for putting this together. This is called The Apology of Icarus. I was wax and feathers, bone and flesh, and on that bright morning to live was to fly. But it was summer, and to fly at all, at any height, was to melt and fall. Father was inconsolable and thought himself to blame, but he was powerless to save me, even from the day I was born. Thank you.
Okay, the next group of three is Virginia, followed by Don, followed by Michael. So Virginia, over to you.
First, I want to thank Geri for the wonderful nostalgia and playfulness in her poetry. And Dan, I don't know how anybody could follow your poem. It was wonderful. Anyway, all right. This is called Lamplight, January 2025. In winter, lamplight reminds us of our dependence on the sun. The solstice tree seems a haven for still fireflies on crafts of memory. Lamplight is golden but icy cold, perfect for reading about adventures, voyages to Tahiti's isles. My oceanic dip mind sleeps. All is settling like diatoms in the icy deeps, sabers of Vienna blood and atoms flying through the Milky Way. My mind is agitated as a heart of coral. Resting from illness, I turn on the lamp and retreat into word lines. My sister is in a fiery place. Assured over the net, she is still safe. The world is held in place once again by lines of text, and I retreat to my lamp, suddenly understanding quantum entanglement, so puzzling earlier in the day. Two sisters connected across space by stress, she packing to leave as fires encircle, I stress with worry, she seeking calm, I descending in the sea of millions of scales.
Thank you. Well done, Virginia. Okay, Don, over to you.
This is a three-part poem. I read this 3 years ago. The first part was a week before the invasion of Ukraine. The other two are about a month apart as the war progressed. Is this 1938 again? The threat of war, how it hangs over Europe again? Tanks and soldiers waiting, while Ukraine goes about its business. Words threaten sanctions. Will sanctions bring back the dead? Is no one willing to stop this? Is this 1938 again? Russian soldiers in tanks and trucks, waiting for their orders. How many will they kill? Who sends them to conquer and kill? A man, evil and cunning. He controls the gas and the soldiers. Europe needs the gas. Is this 1938 again? Just how far will this go? Which country is next? Who will answer for the dead? War is a crime carried out by men. Is this 1938 again? About a month later, a training exercise. Did you hear about the training exercise? You can see it on the nightly news. Have you seen the trenches with bodies in black bags? Homes, hospitals, schools pounded to rubble by rockets and tanks. Have you heard about the millions fleeing the training exercise? The men stayed back to fight for the training exercise. Stopped. Russians practiced a retreat. Left booby traps and mines. Civilians left dead, shot in the head, hands tied behind their backs. It was all part of the training exercise. Mariupol. I feel I'm dying in Mariupol. I feel the destruction around me. Will I soon lie in a pit somewhere? I see mass graves. I smell the smoke of burning buildings. I hear the crying of the living stooped over a child's body. Will the world remember us who were once living in Mariupol? Will the world remember the evil that came to our country in February 2022? I'm consumed by never-ending grief, crushed by raw power and greed. I feel I'm dying in Mariupol. Those poems were written as a response to the news reports that we were seeing on TV.
Thank you, Don. Unfortunately, very timely, very moving. Okay, Michael, over to you.
Great poems.
Good morning, all. It's been a while for me. The last time was actually at the actual church. Geri actually brought me out. I had the good fortune, I think, having her as a co-facilitator in 2 workshops for the Ali program. And
I miss you. I miss.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, Geri. Even today, I love your person, but your poetry is beautiful, and its connection to family, to real life stuff. It's somewhat genuine. You pull from that stuff, so thank you. And again, Dan and Kathy, thank you so much for what you do. Just getting the emails and the recordings each week, I do stay up with it often, even though I'm not always able to come. So thank you. Just a little intro to my poem. My sister planned this summer outing with my dad and myself. It started with a dinner at a local restaurant in Long Beach, Long Island, followed by an outdoor concert on the beachfront. It was only a few months after my mom's death, and for me, a mystical evening. The twilight air was filled with nostalgia and wonder. And so the title of the poem is The Strange People in Long Beach. Strange how things are. Boardwalk happenings, a summer beach concert, swing time band fills the twilight air. Starting with Les Brown, lots of Benny, Dorsey, some old Blue Eyes, and even Basie playing an Ellington tune. Sitting on a lawn chair next to my sister, who's next to my dad, taking it all in. No Beatles or Stones, but the mood is pleasing. The tempo is right. Suddenly, up goes those dancing ladies, whirling wildly in the night, right in front of us. The redhead, tattoos on her aged white legs, and the women with gray puffy hair, smiling. Strange how things are, looking straight ahead, beyond the music, beyond the late day folk, beyond the many large boats, to the ancient ocean, which is fading into the blue-black horizon. Yet the summer sky still spreads aglow. I feel the melody of the present, inviting quiet amidst the clatter of the bustling Long Beach scene. The stillness of things as I ponder my mom's whereabouts, somehow hearing the echo of love in the faint song of my sweet imagination. All alone with my kin, wondering silently, enjoying the beauty about, sensing the sacred. Next to my sister, who's next to my dad. Strange how things are.
Thank you, Michael. Well done. Very moving. Okay, the next group of 3 is Jill and Tony and then Claude. So Jill, over to you. Give it, turn your mic on. Give her a second to do that. It's got to be a little button there, Jill. Okay, Jill, what I'm going to do while you look for your button, I'm going to give you a little bit more time. We'll skip ahead. We'll come back to Jill. So let's go to Tony and then we'll come back to Jill. Tony, over to you.
Great. Thanks, Dan. And thank you, Geri, for that wonderful featured reading. That was really, really terrific. I'm going to read this poem. It's called Ode to a Zero Gravity Chair. It was kind of inspired by Keats's Ode to Sleep. And if anyone doesn't know what a zero gravity chair is, you have to get one. It will change your life. Just go to Costco or BJ's, and very inexpensive. And here goes, Ode to a Zero Gravity Chair. Elevated in alignment, my feet with my heart, how could I have known before you were mine the lightness of butterfly freedom that comes after launching oneself in supportive webbing with adjustable headrest? You don't throw me backwards as soon as I sit. No, you give me enough pressure to keep me exactly where I want to be, in recline, in your embrace, on an August 80-degree day, sans humidity, on a deck, shaded and serenaded by rustling leaves of backyard oak trees in concert with a pleasant summer wind. Thank you for giving me back to myself. Thank you for repose outside of house walls, for dreams of weightlessness outside my bed, for the chiropractor-like adjustment of spirit and body in an affordable chair designed with ergonomic benevolence. Yes, all things are divine. On the scale of love, I admire your sturdy frame and patent-pending textiline webbing. Even the clever snack tray with cup holder that blithely falls under my rump when not in use. If pleasurable sleep in this lifetime can be attained, then let me count down to zero, posing like an astronaut, offsetting the surges of gravitational pressure, exiting the Earth's pull, from 10 to 1 to liftoff, soon to be in orbit, circling all my earthly problems. If my heart and heels were stars and planets of the zodiac, they would be aligned in conjunct within the celestial house of well-being. If my mind were a Turkish poppy field exploding in summer bloom, I'd be stoned in subterranean colors of euphoric slumber. Consumed in the embrace of thee, my sweet outdoor companion, on this blessed bright afternoon, pampered like a house guest, held dotingly as a drowsy cat, just you and I, and an open book of Keats's poetry on my chest, bathed in the soft sounds of nature, solitary and serene for a 20-minute guilt-free nap.
Well done, Tony. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Jill, looks like you got your mic on.
Yeah, sorry about that. Geri, great job. Thanks to Dan and Kathy for hosting. And everyone's poems have been so enjoyable. And thanks especially to JR for emailing me all of these great events. My poem is called The Red Dress. It hangs on Macy's last act rack, middle of July, lodged between a bikini and a tank top, the Christmas dress I always wanted in my size. Vibrant cherry red, cable knit, scoop neck, long sleeve, soft to the touch. Do I dare? I always dreamed of owning a cable knit sweater dress when I never owned a cable knit sweater dress kind of body. They hug you in all the wrong places, but this one flared right above the knee, forgiving and flattering. Let's try. Slipping it on, I knew it fit right away and beam into the mirror, having no occasion to buy a new dress for a while. And here, the Christmas dress I always wanted, a bright, jubilant red in midsummer, lowest price, no returns, feels like a gift. It hangs in my closet, summer into fall. I glance at it occasionally, with excitement, I think. Can't wait for Christmas, when usually it is a time I dread. I have it all planned, black tights, red and black shoes with their big silver buckles, a sparkly Christmas brooch, and hanging earrings to match. As the day approaches, the real present, the one all my heart had hoped, doesn't come. After years of applying and failing once more, the outfit won't be one of celebration. The hanger now holds any long-awaited cheer the dress does possess. to salvage the day. On Christmas morning, I take the red dress from the closet early and hang it from the mirror, admiring it as I pass. I curl my hair, and with makeup and perfume on, I don the red Christmas dress, smiling as I leave. I walk in to our holiday dinner, family all around. No one mentions the red dress during day or night, but my mother-in-law, looking me up and down, makes the salient point, who wears dresses? I had signed up to sing at the home, red top and black pants, the required attire, but with no red tops to wear, the red dress has to do. As I pull it on, its shine has tarnished, and I worry it could cause admonishment from the director, very strict on dress code. Ruth is waiting, perched at the edge of her wheelchair seat, smiling ear to ear, a former member of our group, way before my time. Only a handful of the chorale who volunteered actually arrive, but we gather round the old, somewhat tuned piano, Ruth right in front, and put on a show. I help her turn the pages of the familiar songs as she sings out to the room with all the strength she has to give. And when the performance is over, I lean in to tell her how well she has done. I collect the booklet from her paper-thin hands as she grabs one of mine. We lock eyes, and Ruth whispers, "Thank you," and "Oh, I love your red dress." Thank you.
Well done. I never heard so much passion for an item of clothing. Well done. Okay, Claude, over to you.
Yeah, those are two poems of passion for material things. The red dress and the gravity chair. Incidentally, my poem's a little bit about gravity. So follow you up, Tony. I wonder what you'd read a poem about your wife if you're married. So Jerry, that was great. All your poems were great. First reading to a big crowd. Wow, that was great. All right, so I contused my ribs a couple of weeks ago. That was agony. And I was supposed to drink and stay hydrated, and then my skin got wrinkled. Then I thought about the drug Ozempic. You know what Ozempic is? That's the one that people use for diabetes. Now they're starting to use it for weight loss. 12% of Americans have tried it, if you can believe that. And now they implicated it in something called the eye stroke. People are getting blind after they get the shots. So not a good thing. Okay, so and the other thing I should say is, so I should be drinking water, but lately there was an NIH study that showed there's 240,000 nanoparticles in a 1 liter plastic bottle of water. So I guess I want to drink out of glass, but I get everything in plastic bottles, so that's not good. Anyway, so the poem is called Ozempic Faces. I emailed a lot of you the pictures of Ozempic faces. So I hope you got to look at them. Ozempic faces. My skin was wrinkled like an Ozempic patient. I had difficulty turning over in bed because of the pain I withstood. Not drinking enough, needing more water. Not chemicals stewing in bubbling beakers. Hydrogen and oxygen at 2 to 1. Combined to hydrate the delinquent son who knew better, who refrained from reaching for the bottle, fraught with 240,000 plastic nanoparticles per liter, rationalizing my reluctance to do the practical, ignore the negative, losing weight, not my imperative, watching brainwashed others shoot themselves up. Faces changed like the walking dead, horrifically drained by gravity's suck.
Thank you, Claude. Thank you, Claude. Okay, we've got two more people in chat. We may have more than this, but the two more I have, and we'll get everyone else who's not listed, we'll give them an opportunity as well. But the two I have are Maggie, followed by Randy. So Maggie, over to you. Maggie, you got to put your mic on. Okay, Maggie. Okay, while we wait Maggie to put her mic on, we'll go over to Randy.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep, you're fine,
All
Randy.
right. Thank you, Dan and Kathy, for hosting. And Geri, I am a new fan of your poetry. It is tight and effortless and poignant. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank
And,
you all for your compliments, by the way.
mm,
Thank you.
mm. The Surrender of Christmas. Jesus, fragile in his mother's womb, completely dependent on liquid food, helpless in a thin-walled sack, vulnerable to any attack. Being shoved from his blissful state, squeezed through a tunnel, bringing pain, popped out, cord cut, can't breathe, fears death, smacked on the back and gasping for breath. Has to nurse at Mary's breast, needs butt wiped and lots of rest, daily care and maternal love, releasing rights as God above. So he knows the thorn in my side, hard to focus, to listen and guide, straining to study or even to read, I drain my strength performing these deeds. ADHD, my thorn in the flesh, always humbling, nevertheless, if Jesus surrendered to Mary's womb, I can surrender from birth to the tomb. I boast in this weakness, humbling me, inviting God's power generously. When I am weak, then I am strong. Credit skips me and sticks to God. I don't just bear this weakness within, but delight in hardship, for I know when I'm at my weakest and struggling to breathe, that's when God's power rests greatly on me. Amen.
Thank you, Randy. Well done. Okay, so I believe Maggie left us. I do not see Maggie's still not here. So Kathy, would you like to read?
Yes, I would.
Go ahead.
Okay. I think the number's dropping a little bit, and building bridges starts at noon at Walt Whitman House. I believe it's today. Is Bruce with us still?
He had to leave. He had to leave, he said.
So that's an indication that that building bridges. So anyone interested in building bridges that doesn't already know about it, be on the Walt Whitman Birthplace website, of course. Unfortunately, on the same day we're here and we overlap because there's so many open readers. That's an unfortunate thing, but you can come late to the other and hopefully hear the rest of our open. I have a poem, and it's got to do with how we learn. You know, you can read a book and you can listen to a speech and you can go to a classroom and you can, you know, listen to great courses. You can learn in many ways, but here's another way to learn. And so the name of this poem is called Screwed. You only have to lock the keys in your car once, in a deserted parking lot or in the driveway, work day, everyone sleeping, cell phone in your bag with your keys, to never do it again. You only have to forget to turn off your cell phone for a concert after having it ring during a solo, cello, debut of a shy young musician, son of your best friend, once, to never forget to turn it off again. You only need to go to a celebration as a friend's guest, find the hostess is your ex-husband's new mate, that he will be there to never not check who is giving a party you're going to. You will never rush out of the house, unsure you turned off the stove, having boiled water for tea, kids waiting to be picked up, school's out, it's beginning to rain, too late to turn around, know if the house is on fire, like the way you are learning. The end.
Well done, Kathy. Okay, so let's just do one last look around the gallery. Shu, did you want to read today? No, Shu, is that a yes?
Yes.
All right, go ahead.
All right.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Such a wonderful morning to enjoy, see all the friends here, and it's really a great event. So I post my poem on the chat so you can follow while I was reading. The title is Don't Say You Love Me. Don't say you love me. Sit by my side. Feel the breeze in the garden. Listen to the whiz of the bee. Sip the tea while it's still warm. Don't say you love me. Cook with me, even if the recipe's silly, even if the taste make us laugh. Let's savor the moment while we can. Don't say you love me. Hold me tight when I suffer. Crack a joke. Share an apple while it's still crisp, still sweet. Don't say you love me. Tell me what weighs you down. Let your silence sit beside me, beside mine. Let's carry the quiet together. Don't say you love me. I already know. Yes, I do. In a breeze, a bite, a breath shared before it slipped away. Yes, I know. Thank you.
Thank you, Shu. Okay, I believe, let me just do one last pass here. I believe we've got everyone who wanted to read, had an opportunity to read. So we're going to call back up. Oh, we have Carolyn. Glad
Carolyn, yeah.
I see her. Okay, Carolyn, got to turn your mic on and the floor is yours.
Wonderful poems, Jerry, and thank you, Dan and Kathy.
Oh, welcome back, Carolyn. Good to see you.
This is a little bit like what happens in the winter when we kind of go underground and things cogitate to kind of bring us to a new place. Floating. For months, I've been floating in a sea of gray, a liminal place between darkness and light, floating without direction. But now, no longer motionless, I'm waking into purpose, sliding my feet down to earth, staying grounded in intention, firm in my beliefs, which lead me forward into dissonance. Thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn. Okay, do last look at the gallery. Okay, I don't see anyone else waving. So Jerry, go ahead.
No, some people, I guess, are not reading, even though they're welcome to.
Yep.
Dorothy and Virginia, did you read?
Yes, she did.
Oh, yes, she did, right? And so basically, no, no one else.
Okay. So Jerry, back to you for your encore. Much anticipated, I might add.
Okay. This is a lark. I've been wondering if I could capture the words that gave me such rapture before my future was just a mere aperture. I would seize on a word no matter how absurd, find the music therein, no matter how long the synonym, I would delve right in. I cannot say how much life I did reckon on so many mournful seconds, to lie in my bed filled with so much dread, that in my head so henpecked with worry that the words did so scurry away in the sky like Shelley's lark. I am not sure a free bird I can be, so locked in silly that the bird cannot see. Yet I do find each day with such delightful sway that I may at least an average bard be someday.
Well done. You've passed that long ago. Okay.
You know, I think if you hold the bar at just, mediocre, then you don't have the pressure of feeling you have to be the best,
Right.
one of the gang. And every now and then you'll get a poem that surprises everyone or delights them, and that'll make your day. Yeah.
Well, this was a delightful experience for me. Thank you so much. I mean, the preparation taught me so much about poetry, and reading out loud to a group is just really wonderful. It was a wonderful experience. Thank you all.
Yes, Jerry, thank you for coming. You do read beautifully, loud and clear and slowly, just lovely. It's, you get the poems as fully.
Thank
So
you.
terrific.
Thanks.
Kathy, over
Dan,
to
you
you.
want to introduce Barbara for next week? For
Sure.
next
Okay, so next week we have the former poet laureate Barbara Southard, who has been very active in this over the years. And you may know she's on the board of the Long Island Poetry Collective and the Long Island Poetry and Literature Repository. She served as poet laureate from 2019 to 2021. She's got a large extended family, and many of her poems center around her neighborhoods, woods, and waters of Long Island. You follow Barbara on Facebook, there's often these beautiful images that she takes. And three of her books worth getting are Remember, Time and Space, and Long Island Poems. So we look forward to having Barbara Southard as the featured reader next week. So come along again and bring a friend. So at that point, I'm now going to turn off the recording